Welcome to Behind the Prop podcast, where each week we will bring you stories, lessons, and some tips from behind the prop. Please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
Pre-show checklist, microphones,
Check.
sound check,
Complete.
recording all channels,
Checked and verified. Pre-show checklist complete.
our Bravo Tango Papa is holding short, ready for departure.
Bravo, Tango Papa, you are clear for takeoff. Have a great show.
You're clear for takeoff and Wilco. Bravo Tango Papa.
What's up, Wally?
Hey, Bobby, how are you?
I'm good. This is something we talked about maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it's coming to life. This is the podcast called Behind the Prop. Two guys who've spent a lot of time behind a prop. How many hours do you think you've spent behind the prop?
Well, I haven't broken down my hours by prop and jet, but close to 24,000 hours in an airplane. I'm guessing, I have no idea how many are behind the prop, but
Wow,
a lot of times.
That's
suffice to say.
1,000 days in the air.
That is, and I've never worked a day doing it. I'm so fortunate, so blessed to be able to do this for a living. I'm an airplane geek when I'm not flying for the airline. I'm maybe doing check rides, but I'm home. I'm reading about it. I'm researching. I'm learning, and I'm just an airplane geek.
So this is episode 0. We'd like to introduce everybody kind of to the show's concept and what we plan to do. My name is Bobby Doss. I am a flight school owner in Houston, Texas. We have a fleet of 13 aircraft, and we teach people how to get their pilot's license. Hopefully, if you're listening to the show, you're at some stage of your training. And if you want to learn more about my flight school, you can go check it out. It's unitedflight.com. And then you are?
My name is Wally Mulhern. I am a airline pilot for a major U.S. airline here in Houston, Texas. I'm also a designated pilot examiner. I've been an examiner for about 4 years here in the Houston area, and just very active in the general aviation community. And I just want to do my best at giving back to the general aviation community, or the aviation community, I should say.
Yeah, so we had a few conversations. You've taught some of our courses at our flight school here. We do some free courses in the evening. You're actually doing one tonight. We're going to announce the podcast and share with people. But we've both mutually thought a lot about giving back to GA and to aviation in general. We met when you administered my instrument check ride. I don't know if you probably don't remember like I do, of course, but it was the calmest day ever for an instrument check ride. That was actually calm at all the airports we talked about going to. So it was pretty easy day for a guy who had to do a check ride, but not everybody's comfortable in a check ride. This podcast is going to be a lot of stories and lessons from behind the prop. We're going to share some tips and tricks. I'm assuming you're a pretty busy man, family, work, everything else. Why would you spend this time doing a podcast when we're neither one making any money doing it?
Well, I just want to give back. Aviation has been so good to me. My father was a pilot. Obviously, I'm a pilot. Both my daughters are pursuing aviation as a career, and it's when I told my father I wanted to get into aviation back when I was in college, his comment was, "It sure beats working for a living." And I feel the same way. I feel like I've never really worked a day in my life. I just enjoy it so much, and it's been so good to me. I just want to do my best to encourage people, and if I can help them along the way, I'd like to do that.
So we've talked about a lot of show ideas, and if you're listening to this, please don't hesitate to give us your ideas. We'll give you a way to get that information to us before the show's over. But we think we're going to share a number of different types of podcast shows. We've talked about, we'll tell some stories. We got a good story coming up in one of our first few episodes about an experience that I had on this airport where I probably should have lost my life, but I didn't, thank God. And you're going to tell some stories of, I guess, all the mistakes you've ever seen on a check ride. That might be more than one episode. But we do hope that you tune in probably on a weekly basis is our plan to put the show out. And we want to make sure we're both giving back to the general aviation community, but aviation in general, from hot topics to news that might come out to things that we think are just going to do you good in the cockpit and behind the prop. Wally, you do a lot of things outside of your corporate world job of aviation. What are some of the things you do outside of your airline job?
Well, besides the airline, I volunteer for an organization called Pilots for Patients, which is an organization based in my hometown of Monroe, Louisiana. Well, actually, Houston's my hometown now, but I grew up in Monroe, Louisiana. And it's Pilots for Patients is just what it says. It's an organization that flies people around that need transportation for medical treatment. And so the majority of the patients that I fly are between Monroe and Houston, Texas, and the vast majority of them are coming down to MD Anderson for cancer treatment. So it's a total volunteer organization. I donate my time. I donate the airplane, the fuel, everything. I don't get any monetary compensation for it, but the compensation I do get for it is just the feeling of being able to help someone who is in need of transportation and medical treatment. So it's extremely fulfilling. I always, at the end of the flight, I always thank my patients, and they look at me like, well, no, we should be thanking you. And I said, no, I got a lot more out of this than you did. So just something that's very near and dear to my heart, and something that I want to keep on doing.
Something I'm sure the listeners and pilots will be very interested in is the fact that you are a designated pilot examiner. Just a few statistics, check rides, different states you've done them in. Something fun for the listeners to learn about your DPE world in life.
I am at about 400 check rides I have done. I have been a DPE for just under 4 years. I consider myself one of the new guys in Houston. We've got examiners here in Houston that have been doing it for 30, 35 years and have thousands of check rides given. So I've only been doing it for 4 years, a little bit less than 4 years. I still consider myself a new guy. But most of the check rides have been done right here in Houston. I would say out of those 400, the vast majority, probably 80% of them have been done right here at this airport, Hooks Airport. As of now, I'm authorized to do private, commercial, single-engine and multi-engine and instrument airplane check rides.
Nice.
So.
And for me, I've had a previous life where I was in tech sales, did a lot at big companies like Microsoft, Dell. I've worked and sold technology most of my adult life, and stumbled across aviation, not on a whim. I always wanted to do it, and just had a wife that wouldn't allow me to do it. My wife was diagnosed with breast cancer, and she changed her mind, said we'll live our lives the way we want to live them, and I'm not going to be scared anymore. And she reminds me almost daily that she told me I could fly, not by a flight school. But I think she likes it. I know I like it, and have left my day jobs of selling tech for the most part. Still dabble here and there, but for the most part have left that career for a 3-minute drive to work and a day in an office where I hear planes start and go every day, and love what I do. It's got its good days, it's got its bad days, but been a lot more good days than bad, and I am always learning. I don't think I ever imagined having 400 hours, which is about where I'm at. And to hear you say you've had 400 check rides, I'm thinking you've done more check ride flight time than I have in my logbook. But both of us have different experiences, but a lot of it's in general aviation. And I've probably got more pilot stories than the average pilot with 400 hours, because every day I've got 14 aircraft in a simulator that are up doing something. I've seen a lot of crazy things, from bird strikes to planes that had flats in remote locations to all kinds of stories we'll tell on the show. But general aviation, and I would say aviation in general, isn't cheap, and it's not for the faint at heart. I say the only thing that's cheap in general aviation is renter's insurance. Other than that, everything's expensive. What are some of the stories at a high level do you hope to share with the listeners, and what kind of show ideas do you think we'll pass on to our show?
I hope to hopefully help some people out with their fears about check rides. As an examiner, I'm just a guy. I put on my pants in the morning just like everybody else, and I certainly hope. I'm the biggest cheerleader of the applicant. I want the applicant to do really well. I joke now especially with instrument check rides, I tell them the best compliment that I can give you on an instrument check ride is, boy, that was a really boring check ride. Because, it's not like a private or commercial where you're doing a lot of maneuvers and there's a lot of interaction. The instrument check ride has a lot of approaches, and we're dealing with ATC, so really I'm just sitting over there being quiet. So, again, a boring check ride is a good check ride. So, I'm the biggest cheerleader, and I feel so honored that the applicant has let me be a part of this very important day for him, because any check ride is really important, whether it be private, commercial, or multi-engine or whatever. It's a big deal. And
it's a big day for all of us, no doubt.
And it's really rewarding to get to be a part of that. So
we'll help with check rides. We're going to tell again stories. Before we started recording today, you told one that we'll save for a future episode, but you very clearly remember your solo day. I remember my solo day. We'll hopefully get the chance to interview some students right out of the aircraft on their first solo and share some of that excitement with our listeners. One of the advantages we have of sitting at a flight school with it solos a lot of students. Maybe some people right off check ride with other DPEs, or maybe even with you, and learn something from that. But we also plan to give some tips and tricks, maybe how to prepare, how to nail the check ride day, how to just act like a professional pilot maybe before you become a professional pilot. We sit at an airport called David Wayne Hooks here in Houston, just on the north side of Houston. We're actually in a little town called Spring, but probably in the top 5 for runway incursions for the FAA. It's a very unique airport. There's some videos we'll share with you guys on the podcast as well about this airport, but very busy airport, lots of stories to tell about things that have happened amongst 3 runways at a private but FAA towered airport, including a water runway, a short runway, and a big jet runway. Lots of unique things going on here for sure. As we wrap up episode 0, telling everybody about the show, Wally, who do you think should listen to us? Who do you think should come back and hear more over the next few weeks, months, and maybe even years?
I'm just going to say airplane geeks, and I'm top of the list. If you professional pilot, student pilot, wannabe pilot, aspiring pilot, spouse of a pilot, I hope that we have something to offer for everybody.
No doubt. And as you said, airplane geeks, I know you already mentioned it, but I did think, one of the things we've talked about is sharing how some of the systems work in an aircraft, right? If you don't know everything about the aircraft, we don't either, but we're going to do some homework, and we might know a little something about how the fuel system works, the electric system, the prop, the magneto, all those things. We're going to share some of those tips and tricks and how you should be approaching the aircraft as you get ready to take off in your own career. I hope to share ways that people can save money on their training. While I'm in the business of running a flight school, I think I see people make big mistakes. I hear people come in with these ideas they've been told other places, like, don't ever fly until you take your written exam. I think that's the worst advice ever, and Wally's rolling his eyes in agreement with me, but I hear it almost every week, and it takes me a few seconds to talk people out of that. So not just that tip and trick from how to become a better pilot, but maybe the books and the things that you can download on the internet for free, to sims, building your own home sim to save time, especially when you're working on your instrument, and on and on and on. We're going to share a lot of things to help you with your training. And I think one thing that's going to differentiate us from all the other podcasts that are out there, right? We're not selling anything. Neither one of us are trying to sell you our ground school or anything that we're trying to monetize. We just want to give back to the aviation community. We want to hear your show ideas. Please don't hesitate to send those to us. You can send those to us by sending me an email, bobby@behindtheprop.com, and we will incorporate those and put them on the list, and we'll have some good shows. Anything to say while we wrap up?
No.
All right. Thanks for listening, and until next week, we'll be behind the prop. Thanks. Bye.
Bravo Tango Papa, we are clear of the active runway and would like to taxi to park.
Bravo Tango Papa, taxi to park. Great show. Have a nice day.
Taxi to park, thanks. You too, Bravo Tango Papa.
Thanks for listening to Behind the Prop. Please follow us on social media at Behind the Prop or visit our website, www.behindtheprop.com. Until next week, fly safe, everyone.